Hello everyone, I am back with a new video. Yes, a brand new video, because I seem to only do one a month now, and that's just how it is, so tough shit, innit? So yeah, I got this idea watching a few YouTubers do this. I can't even remember when I last watched it. I know Altars and Madness did a video about this, so it's my top 30 extreme metal albums ever, I guess, because I had to, when I watched it, I kind of thought, oh, okay, I know he kind of listed off quite a few big name albums, and obviously tons and tons of people love those albums, and I really thought to myself, what would be my top 30, like legitimate top 30s, if I got like stuck on having to sell all my collection bar 30 albums, what would I choose? And extreme metal as well, it's kind of like, what is extreme metal? Is it it has to be guttural vocals? Does it have to be exclusively brutally heavy death metal style? And I thought, it isn't, because to me, you've got really aggressive thrash, you've got your black metal, your death metal, your death doom, funeral doom. That all kind of comes under extreme metal, because you get bands like Hammerfall or Accept or something like that, and you wouldn't call them extreme metal, would you? But if you said something like Deicide or, I don't bloody know, Obituary, you know, the extreme metal, you get what I mean. So this top 30 is legitimately my extreme metal albums that I absolutely love. I've had most of these since I was a teenager, and I may have re-bought them on vinyl because I used to download them off LimeWire, if anyone remembers doing that as a kid when the piracy was at its rife. You know, I used to LimeWire everything back in the day. But anyway, so yeah, so we'll crack on. So number 30 is some Finnish death doom, funeral doom, kind of how you look at it, and it's an album that no one ever talks about. And it's one of those bands that I think they have only had done 2 albums, which I have, and they've done nothing since. And they just kind of stuck with me, you know, you heard it, I loved it. And this is Ablaze and Hatred. With this album is called The Quietude Plains, or The Quietude Plains, something like that. Put out through that Finnish label Firebox, which a lot of Finnish bands are on. This came out, I think, in the mid-2000s, yeah, 2009. And I remember hearing it, and it was just really epic. It's slow, it's miserable, but it's got massively guttural vocals on it, because it's obviously Finnish, and they do guttural vocals brilliantly. And it's just got loads of really catchy melodies, and it's one of those albums I'm humming it in my head now. I can remember all the songs, and I haven't listened to this for probably at least 5 or 6 years prior to doing this video. I obviously listened to this 30 when I made the list to remind myself if I actually did still like them. And yeah, I love this album still. It's fantastic. Really unappreciated. No one ever talks about it. Band probably doesn't even exist anymore. But it is a quality kind of funeral death doom band. So if you've never checked it out, I'll leave a YouTube link to everything, so you can kind of get a gist of what I'm listening to and what I'm talking about. So if you like it, go check it out. So yeah, that's number 30. This isn't like a top 30, by the way. It's just 30 albums. So don't think of the number of anything too serious. Next is another band that were like a one and done album, and it was like a massive supergroup, and when it was put out I fucking loved it. It was fantastic. I bought a hoodie. I spent a fucking fortune on postage when I was a teenager or young adult to get this, and this is Grand Supreme Blood Court with Bow Down Before the Blood Court. I wish I had this on vinyl. I know it has been reissued at some point, I swear it has, but I've got my Digipack CD here. But again, back in the day, I swear I had I still have it, a zip up hoodie that I spent at least 70 quid just to get over here. Love it, I still wear it now and again actually. So this is a super group of members from Asix and Halo Bullets of the time they recorded this. So you got the original drummer from Asix, guitarist who was in the Rack, Last One on Earth, forget his name, obviously Van Dreenen's there, current bass player for Asix. He was also, I think, guitarist in Halo Bullets, I believe, at the time. And he was the bass player in Halo Bullets when they recorded this album. And, you know, they've all been in various guises of other bands since then. So, yeah, fucking phenomenal death doom in the vein of your Halo Bullets, your Asix, but it's ultra heavy. The guitar tone and bass tone on this is the best I've ever heard for me. Like this is what I always reference when I say to people, oh, if I could get that guitar tone, I'd be well happy. And I've never even come close. So yeah, I love this album. Love it. So yeah, wicked. Number 28 is probably my favourite death metal album from this band. I say death metal album, it's Suffocation with, what's this one called? Blood Oath? Yeah, Blood Oath. And yeah, I've even got the kind of blood red CD. I think it came with a few extras, but I got this second hand, so I'm missing the extras. But this album came out, and again, this is another one I used to stream off LimeWire, and then I bought a t-shirt from Nuclear Blast when I started earning money in my first job. And I never actually bought the album until maybe last year. I finally owned it, even though I know it to learn all the songs to death. I know it off by heart. It's a fantastic album. Probably the heaviest for me. I mean, obviously the first one is obviously everyone references that, and I love that album as well. But my personal taste and how I like my death metal, the riffage, the song structures and all that, that's just perfect on this album for me. It's fucking heavy as fuck, and I fucking love it. Yeah, so Suffocation, Blood Oath. Hopefully you can hear the music in the background. Some quality Russian death doom that I haven't listened to again for years and years and years. Right, number 27, the first vinyl of this one that I only recently got this a few years ago, but I listened to this loads back in the day. And that is Sentenced with Shadows of the Past, that's right, yeah. Their debut full length from the early 90s. And again, when I first heard Finnish death metal, my first introduction to death metal was the American bands like Cannibal Corpse and Obituary and stuff like that, and then Morbid Angel. But when I started hearing like the Finnish variants of death metal, it just changed my outlook on it completely. And these guys are the ones that I always reference. I love this band because they've got some kind of doomy elements to it. It's quite slow in some parts, and when I first heard it, that was what I was really into. So it really clicked with me. Like, I mean, all these songs are great, but I mean, I can't even tell you which one I like the most. Probably Rotting Waste and Misery, probably, maybe. Beyond the Distant Valley. It's hard to tell. I love them all so much. So yeah, fucking amazing album. Sentenced. Go check. If you haven't checked any of these out, you must check these out. So Sentenced, but I'm sure all of you have. It's just an excuse to do something different on a video, isn't it? So, number 26 is, again, my favourite Japanese band. And when I first heard these guys, I thought they were brilliant. They're death, they're doomy, they've got a kind of crust-punk element to them, depending on what album you listen to, and this is especially on this one. And this is Coffins with Buried Death. I have this on a t-shirt, but it's far too small for me now. I bought it at Bloodstock back in 2014. I think I last went to Bloodstock. And I found this on a t-shirt, and even though it didn't fit me, I bought it. And I think I've wore it once, and it was like a crop top, so it lives under my bed at the moment in a big box of other death doomy band t-shirts that don't fit me anymore. But yeah, Coffins, Buried Death, crusty, punky, doomy death metal. It's so good. I mean, Altars in Gore, that song's brilliant. Cadaver Blood, that's fucking awesome. They're all brilliant, and this is probably my favourite album there as well. I mean, I love all their music. Probably the debut as well is probably my second favourite. But I love this to death. It's such a great album. This was reissued on 20 bucks spin. And yeah, again, another quality album with quality artwork. So yeah, Coffins. Who doesn't like Coffins, right? 25 is some old school thrash that has stuck with me for years and years and years. I mean, I heard this when I was probably about 16, 17. And at the time, these two CDs were on sale on I think it's Virgin Megastore I bought this from. It doesn't even exist anymore. Shows my age. And that's Sabbat with Dreamweaver. Now everyone references the first album, which again is absolutely amazing. Love that one. But for me, this was the first one I ever heard with Do Dark Horses Dream and Nightmares. And that song and that, from when I heard this album, that is what I always reference as Sabbat when I hear it. I love it. The vocals, completely different at the time. I was a massive Slayer fan, Metallica fan. And then I heard this, and the vocals were completely different. He was saying about 1 million words a minute. It's aggressive, it's raw, it's kind of got that kind of black metal edge to it a little bit, that prototype style. But it's obviously thrash metal, and because it's an English band as well, I fell in love with it even more. Because it's like, oh yeah, homegrown, you know, love it. And obviously now Andy Sneap, the guitarist of this band, is now the guitarist in Judas Priest, famous recording engineer, you know, does it all now. And Martin Walkier, I don't know what he does now, but he doesn't come close to any of the first two albums of this band. It's just phenomenal, phenomenal music. So yeah, Sabbat, I love it. Now, this one is probably my first introduction to the HM2 guitar tone that I remember, and it's probably the only album I could say is honestly the first Swedish death metal album I ever heard, and that was Edge of Sanity's Unorthodox. Now, I forget even where I first heard this. I heard one track, and it probably would have been from when I was downloading my LimeWire stuff. I used to just fucking get anything I could find. I'd use a website called, I can't remember what it's called now, but you could type a name in a band and it would recommend you bands of a similar style, and I must have probably put in like Cannibal Corpse or Obituary or Morbid Angel, something like that, and I ended up getting onto this. And the song, When Is It All Said? Yeah, When It All Is Said, that very last track, and it's very doomy, very ploddy, very heavy, very aggressive, and I loved it so much. I still do. And then I listened to the rest of the album and I thought, this is great, really different. The guitar tone's weird, unique. It sounds raw, rusty and horrible. And yeah, and then I obviously discovered Entombed, you know, you go Grave, you know, all those classic death metal bands from Sweden. But this is the first one for me. I heard of these boys, and it's just brilliant, isn't it? I mean, it's absolutely fantastic. I still love it. I haven't listened to this for a little while actually. I know it off by heart, but I should really put this on again. So yeah. Edge of Sanity 23 is a brilliant album. Everyone says the second album is brilliant and better, but I don't know why I love this one more, and that is Dissection's The Somberland. And this band, my friend Kenny from work, who's got me into so many different black metal bands over the years, but this was the very first one he always used to reference to me, and I knew the name. Because who doesn't know the name Dissection? You see it on t-shirts everywhere, back patches, you name it, on battle jackets. They're there somewhere, you know. And yeah, I used to listen to this a boatload back in the day, mainly the title track, and then I obviously would listen to the rest of the album when I found it online and I downloaded it. And again, I've only had this physically for a few years. I haven't had it too long. But yeah, I fucking love it. Absolutely fantastic album, and it's one I never get bored of. Absolutely great. Second album's fantastic as well, but it's that the Somberland riff for me is always going to be imprinted in my head. So yeah, that's that. Number 22, probably most people would probably not class this as an extreme metal album, but it was for me when it first came out. And obviously the band have roots certainly in the underground black metal scene, and they've become this massive band now that are probably so far away from what they used to sound like. And that is Satyricon with their Now Diabolical album. Now when this came out, it was a music video called King, and I thought it was the weirdest thing in the world, but for some reason I loved it. It was really catchy. And then Now Diabolical, that song, I heard that again, stuck in my head for days and days and days. And that was back in the day where you'd watch the Kerangs, your MTV2s, and you'd watch them and then you'd want that band. And obviously back then you couldn't stream anything, so I had to go buy it. So I went and bought this straight away. And at the time I remember buying it thinking, oh, this is the heaviest thing I own in my collection. And that was with Metallica, Overkill, Slayer. And you probably would say Slayer is probably heavier than this, but for me, because it had the goat's head on it, I was like, oh, so extreme. And it couldn't be further from extreme. It's a good album, but it's not extreme, you know. But I've put it in this list because it is, to me, extreme metal, just in a different way. So yeah, be interested to see what people think of this, because I don't know how many people actually like this album or not. I love it to bits. I like the second one with Commando on it and stuff like that. But this is always my favourite Satyricon album, even though it's not really a black metal album. Okay, oh yes. Now hopefully this comes up on camera, because it looks like, when the light hits it, it's like a fucking disco ball. But this is Hooded Menace with Fulfill the Curse. This is their debut. I'll try and get it so you can see the artwork, but it's like black, silver, really shiny. And as you can see, it does no justice whatsoever with lights. You can barely see it, can you? But anyway, I love this album. Fantastic. Finnish Death Doom. Again, when I first heard this band, they sounded like Candlemass, but they were incredibly heavy. And I still am a massive Candlemass fan. So obviously anything that was inspired by that, I was an instant fan of it myself. And all their albums I've got part of one, and they're amazing. I love this band so much. Bucket list is to go see these boys live one day, along with Candlemass. I've never seen them live either. Yeah, just a fantastic band. Absolutely love them. So yeah, Hooded Menace. There's no shock to some people, that's in the list. There you go. Now, this one will probably shock a few people. And The only reason this is in the list because at the time, again, I thought it was so fucking brutal, but at the same time, it's funny, it's catchy, it's fun, but it is brutal. And that is the band Debauchery with Torture Pit. And when I first heard this band, I think it was a cover song of a Judas Priest song, Defenders of the Faith, but with an ultra guttural death metal Cookie Monster vocal style. And then I researched into the band, and then you're reading the song titles like Coming and Killing, Meat Grinder, Clan of Killers. I mean, everything's about gore, death, and like there's a cover with a bird with a baps out, covered in blood. I thought that was amazing as a 17-year-old, and I said I need that in my collection. I actually haven't got that one. But Torture Pit for me has always been the one with the better songs from this guy. He's a funny bloke because apparently, and I don't quote me on it, he's German, was a teacher, school discovered all this weird shit he was singing about because it is pretty full on, and he lost his job because of his lyrics being too extreme, because they are heavily on the like horror, gore, slasher themes, but in the more sexual themes, you know. It's fucking over the top, but it's hilarious. But musically, it's really catchy, it's really heavy, and yeah, I still love it. So yeah, if you've never checked out Debauchery, I'll leave a link to my favourite song on this one, but it is, you take it with a pinch of salt because it's not serious in this. Well, he probably thinks it is, but to me it's just fucking funny. Okay, what we got next? 19. This is again a band everyone likes, and if you don't like it, fair enough, but I think you're a muppet. And that is Asix with Last One on Earth. You got a undead priest on the cover. You got a wicked band logo that I think is amazing, and you got one of the heaviest songs in the world, which is The Last One on Earth. That to me is the pinnacle of death doom riffing. It's so simple, but it's so fucking heavy. You got Van Drunen just shrieking over it, and I remember when I first heard his voice, it's just like, what is that? But it sounds brilliant, and I love it. And then you hear him talk, and he's just a Dutch bloke, but it's just the way he does his vocal style. It's only he can do it, and anyone else who does it now, obviously, is referencing him, you know. And there's nothing to show you inside it, but I love this album. It's heavy, straight to the point, it's fucking brilliant. It's an old school album, quality band, still going strong now. I'm actually seeing these boys in 2 weeks actually for the first time in London, so I'm well happy about that. Making a little pilgrimage from my house to London to go see Asix. So yeah, there's that one. Pile of CDs is going to fall down in a minute. Okay, this is a really cool album. Again, I always thought this was a European band, but this is actually a US band, and that is Deathevokation with the Chalice of Ages. Now, obviously inspired by Dismember. And you would think this band is a Swedish band, the way they sound. The vocalist is a European name, which I can't find on here, but musically, this is very much a European, Swedish death metal kind of album in sound. The riffs are brilliant, it's heavy, it's very, very catchy. Very, very catchy. And I absolutely adore this. The Chalice of Ages, that track, Soul Gazes the Sky, everything on here is fucking fantastic. And it's a band that's got quite a cult following because a lot of people want them to make new music and get back together. I don't think they are. If they are together, they haven't put music out for years. I mean, this came out in the 2000s at some point, 2007 I think it was. And it's, as soon as I heard it, I thought, oh, it's brilliant, absolutely love it. And yeah, been a massive fan of them ever since. Absolutely love this album. I always kind of revisit this at least once a year because it's so fucking good. So give that a whirl if you haven't. 17 is some US death metal from a band who sound like, again, no one else, have their own style, and everyone else since then has kind of paid homage to it, and that is Nile. And this is the one, Those Whom the Gods Detest. The reason I love this one the most out of all the Nile albums is the song Fourth Hour of Dagon. I saw these guys live, and they did a snippet from that with the aura, and I yeah, absolutely loved it. It's fucking heavy, and then you discover the detuned guitars. I think it's like Drop A they play in or something like that, with the over-the-top shredding solos, and it's brilliant. It's all Egyptian themed, and I love my history, so I was well hooked when I first heard this band. And you watch like YouTube videos from like, I mean, I was watching YouTube probably 2006, 2007 when that first started out, and there was videos of the drummer from this band just blasting away with his feet swiveling away, and fucking, it was insane. I remember it clear as day, watching stuff like that and when I was in college. So yeah, Nile, I absolutely love that band. Another great band. Okay, so number 16 is I think it's they're from Spain. This is Evadne with The Shortest Way. This is a death doom band, and this album, I think I actually did a video for this a long while ago in my top 10 out of 10 albums. This is that good. It's fantastic from start to finish. It's really melodic, atmospheric, captures you with the songs. The riffing is on point, the melodies are really strong, the vocals sound fantastic, it's got great production, and it's just put out through Solitude Productions, which was a tiny little label out of Russia, who are even tinier now since the war happened. I used to be signed to them at one point when we put our second album out, and it did alright, but it's not great. And we were very proud to be on that label because that's one we wanted to be on because of bands like this. And yeah, I fucking love this band. Really good band. And if you like your Death Doom, you should already know this band, at least this album especially. They've got a few albums out now, but this to me is their strongest music by miles. A brilliant album. So yeah, Evadne. I'm reading a list, that's why I have to keep looking over there, otherwise I will completely forget what order I put this in and I'll just spout out nonsense. So this is number 15, and that is Ahab with The Divinity of Oceans. Funeral Doom out of Germany, a fantastic band. I've kind of gone off them a little bit over the years because they've kind of got softer and softer. I still like them, don't get me wrong. But for me, the first 2 to 3 albums are the strongest work by miles, maybe the 4th album as well. Just love them, they're so heavy. And when I saw them live back in, I want to say 2014, 2015, they were fantastic. They were so good, really heavy. And they were on the same time as Cannibal Corpse on a different stage at this festival I was at. I was there for these guys because I knew I'd see Cannibal Corpse again at some point, but maybe not these guys, and I haven't seen these guys since. They are so good, really heavy, really melodic, really miserable, very epic. It's got your death growls, your kind of monk chanting kind of style vocals, but the gutturals and the tuning of the guitar is so low, it's so heavy, and it's just such a cool band singing about Moby Dick, essentially. So yeah, Ahab, loving that. Okay, 14 is some Polish death metal again. I heard this, I think Dan from my band Consecration, the vocalist, introduced me to these guys for a DVD he had when we used to go around there for beers and curry before we became parents and stuff like that. And this is the band Hate with Awakening the Liar of the Liar. This is probably one of their earlier albums, maybe the second or third one, I can't remember. And again, they're a band that have changed very dramatically. They were pretty much death metal like Vader, and then they've now become essentially black metal now. But this album for me has got their strongest songs on it for that period of style. You know, when they were like a brutal death metal band, like the drums were like machine guns, bass player playing like with his thumb and kind of doing all this sweep shit. And it was just solid riffing even. The song The Scrolls, I think there's one about a Pope as well. Immolate the Pope, yeah. The Scrolls and Immolate the Pope, they were the 2 strongest songs for me. And there's a live DVD of them in Poland playing these, and it was just fantastic. And yeah, I've loved them ever since. Newer stuff is okay, but for me, I'll always will go back to this album from Hate. This is a fucking brilliant album. Let's give that a whirl if you haven't. Where are we now? 13. Blood Red Throne from Norway, Altered Genesis, another band that are going strong still now. Not as heavy as they used to be. They kind of mix it up as they go along. Back then, they had this has got the original 2 guitarists, Dodd and the other guy, who they both were live guitarists for Satyricon in the 90s, and they recorded a boatload of albums before one of them then left. And this is one of them with probably the strongest songs they have. Actually, this has got like songs like Smite on it. Eye Liquor, Flesh to Destroy, Arterial Lust. This is fucking brutal, really heavy. This was put out through Earache, this one. I mean, they've been on so many different labels over the years, but this is one through Earache Records. So it should be pretty easy to find. And yeah, it's just brutally heavy, really heavy. So yeah, go and give that a razz if you haven't. 12, no surprise to some. Bolt Thrower, the Fourth Crusade. I love Bolt Thrower. I was very glad I saw them released live twice before they called it a day. And yeah, I remember when I first heard the riff of the title track of this song, instant fan. Been a fan ever since. They're British, they're death metal, they sing about war. At the time when they were a live band, you could get a band shirt for £10, which is like a myth now to any band that plays live now. And all their designs were awesome, and this cover looks awesome, and their logo is inspired by Games Workshop, and as a teenager I used to love Warhammer. So yeah, everything was in line for me to love this band, and I still do. So yeah, Bolt Thrower, everyone's heard of Bolt Thrower though, so I can't really say too much about them because I'd only be repeating what other people already know. 11 is some more finished death metal in the Death Doom vein. This has been reissued on vinyl I think a few times, but I've never got around to getting it. I've only got it on cassette, and that is Crips. Crips with Unending Degradation, something like that. Cover might hopefully come up on here. This again is just solid, fucking heavy, no nonsense, deathy doom metal. I know the guy from this is also in the band Convocation, and I love that band. And this is basically similar, but obviously faster and heavier in some parts compared to that band. And it's just brutal, atmospheric, heavy. Gutturals are brilliant. Production's murky and horrible in a really heavy, chasmic way. And yeah, and all three of their albums are fucking brutal. So Crips, go give them a go. They are fantastic. 10 is a band out of Norway again that play a very varied selection of metal in the extreme metal category. So they are a doom band, but every album sounds completely different from the one before it, and they're putting out a new album this year which again sounds completely different from the one that came out 2 or 3 years ago. This is the band Funeral with From These Wounds, which came out, I want to say, in the late 2000s, but I can't tell you because I didn't write it down. I may put a little note down there when I do this when I edit this video. But this for me is their strongest album songwriting wise. This has got the catchiest harmonies on it. It's miserable. It's got that kind of monotone vocal style that he does. It kind of has like a delay on reverb on it, so it sounds like two people speaking with just one, but it's very monotone. But the riffs on it, like Vagrant God, Architecture of Loss, I mean every single song in this I love to bits, I really do. It's their strongest album. I mean there's ones that have got Robert Lowe on it, they've got one with an operatic female vocalist, they're brand new one, the 2 tracks on that is a guy who's very operatic. So they really do mix it up, but for me this is the strongest one, and you could probably class this as a doomy death album in the way the guitars are and how the song structures are. So go give that a go if you haven't. It's an absolute belter of an album. These all are though, because I wouldn't show them otherwise. What we got? Number 9. This is another one that probably will shock a few people, but this is generally the first album I ever heard by these guys. Came out when I discovered it. It was new, brand new, just come out that year, and that is Gorefest's Rise to Ruin. This came out, I swear, in like 2005, 2006, 2007, around that period. And it blew me away. One, because the band name was called Gorefest, and I thought, oh yeah, that's going to be really heavy. And this is before I heard False or anything like that. I heard this one. And it's got this very catchy, very crisp production. It's on Nuclear Blast. And but what caught my eye was it had a Thin Lizzy-esque to it, and I love Thin Lizzy, and it had that dual guitar harmony. And it was catchy, and the vocals, even though they were growled, you could understand every single word, which was again new to me. And I know a lot of people hate that in death metal, but I quite like it now and again, depending on the riffs. And this has got tons and tons of quality riffs on it. So yeah, Gorefest Rise to Ruin, not their strongest album for loads of different reasons for a lot of people. False is normally the one that everyone picks, or Mind Lost, which was the debut. But for me, it's when you hear that album, it's your first love. This will always be it. So yeah, Rise to Ruin. Number 8, again, I heard this band as part of a compilation of what I downloaded off LimeWire years ago, and I only had the one song, and I can never remember what it's called now. What was it? Chewed Stubs, that's it, and it is Broken Hopes, Repulsive Conception. This is their third album, I think, by memory. Third or fourth. I think it's the third album of their discography. And yeah, it's fucking brilliant. Joe Patak, or whatever his name is, surname. This dude here passed away and kind of killed the band for a number of years. But yeah, it was such a brutally heavy vocalist. And I remember hearing this and thinking it sounds like nothing else I've got in my like live wire collection, like of MP3s. It was so heavy, it was different, it was unique, and it was doomy and grindy and horrible. And I liked that chug. And then over the years, I developed a love for the chug in guitar riffs, being a thrash head and then going for that kind of chuggy, slow down tempo. And when you read the lyrics to this album, it's absolutely bonkers. And only as an adult and buying this on vinyl, when I read through these, it's just like, wow, that is mentally over the top. So go look up the lyrics to this, because it's fucking hilarious at how fucking mental they are in the lyrics. They're just mad. And then at the end, it's got a Captain Howdy cover by Twisted Sister. That again is fantastic. Been done by 6 Feet Under as well. Every death metal band can cover that song really easily, just because of how slow it is. But yeah, Broken Hope did it first, I think. So yeah, quality stuff. We're nearly there, you'll be pleased to know. Number 7, Tom G. Warrior, Triptychon, with whatever it's called down there, I can never pronounce it, but it's got H.R. Geiger artwork, and that is the only reason I ever checked this out. Not true actually, it's because Tom G. Warrior is a big influence on me, and that's the other reason why I checked it out. But I didn't know what to expect from it, because I didn't know what he'd do after Celtic Frost, because Motherist was such a strong album for me when that came out, and obviously they then split up, and I needed to see what he was doing because he was such an influence. And then this came out, and yeah, fucking massive fan of this band. Seen them live as well, really, really heavy, really brutal. And that is also how I discovered H.R. Geiger, not from Celtic Frost covers, because I didn't know that. It's only until I read up on this years ago and discovered what H.R. Geiger was, and then you obviously discover the artwork and what he's done, and you recognise these pieces from all over the metal spectrum. So yeah, fucking love that. If you've never checked that out, you must check that out. That's a golden album. Number 6, some superb US Death Doom that, again, they've never ever been able to recreate since they put it out, and that is Disma with Towards the Megalith. A really, really strong album. Everyone likes this album if you're a fan of Death Doom. It is quality. It's lowish fi in the kind of production style. It's got that kind of gravelly tone to it that really works. And it's just heavy, catchy, autopsy-esque in its riffage, also incantation you could compare them to. Really, really heavy band. Still going strong now. Put out an EP a few years ago. So yeah, Disma, love them. Now the top 5. Number 5, some US Death Doom in the vein of My Dying Bride, but a bit more of a US death metal flavour to them. And that is November's Doom with Apophic. This is probably their fastest album, I could probably say, in the song structures and the riffs. There's a few songs on this album that are very mid-paced, but faster than what you would expect from the earlier stuff, which was very ploddy, very slow, doomy, you know, melancholic. This has got some absolute quality songs in it, but then in the middle of it, it has a really slow song with the Dutch lass called Annette something or other, who was in I want to say Theatre of a Tragedy, but I don't think that was the band. I'm thinking of another band. It's got like a blue cover with a white mountain on it. It'll come to me eventually. Annette Griezmann or something, I can't remember her name. But anyway, November's Doom. So that's brilliant, it's heavy, it's chuggy. Like Harvest Scythe, 6 Sides, those are really heavy songs. Probably the fastest 2 off the whole album. Dark Host, the opening one is really heavy as well and fast. And yeah, brilliant band. Go check it out. Check all these out, right? Number 4 is a quality band. Again, always makes me smile, but in a good way. You know, I take them seriously, but not too seriously. And that is Immortal with Sons of Northern Darkness. This is my favourite album by them. With the second being, I can never remember what it's called. It's the black and red covered one. But this one is probably the one that I actually tried to learn a lot of the riffs off. So like songs like One by One, Tyrants, stuff like that. I used to try and learn them all the time, and then you learn how a bass guitar playing is mental, and it's actually not as easy as you think it is. because he plays chords in ways that you would never think were normal. He's a clever bloke, you know, he drums and he plays bass, so he's a lot more talented than I ever was. Or am even. So yeah, Immortal, everyone likes Immortal, but that's my favourite Immortal album. They're a brilliant band. Number 3, an album people love to hate, especially if you're an old school metalhead. You like the first one, you don't like Domination, but for me, again, first one I ever heard, Where the Slime Lives, Dominate, those 2 songs, Caesar's Palace, massive fan, absolutely love this album, fantastic. My favourite Morbid Angel album by miles. I had Covenant on the other day, and I forget how good that album is as well, but this one always edges it for me. It's just one I know all the songs by, you know, off the top of my head, you know, even the fucking crappy kind of Trey keyboard-esque bits he puts in, you know, I still enjoy them. But yeah, Morbid Angel, what a fucking quality band they were. Probably not so much anymore, but Where the Slime Lives was probably my favourite, if not the best death metal song ever, to me. I know a lot of you will cry when I say that, but there you go. Number 2 is some Swedish Doom. This is Doom Us, but it's spelt Doom VS, and I looked it up because for years I used to call them Doom VS, but it's Doom Us. But he thought the V looked cool and wanted it as a U, but it's a V, so everyone's going to read it as Doom VS, but it is actually Doom Us. Atrium Veil, something like that, which is the first one. There's only 3 albums by this guy. Solo project from the guitarist out of Draconian, if you know that Swedish mellow doom band. Gothic doom, depends what you want to class them as. And this is purely funeral death doom. It's sluggishly horrible. It's miserable, epic, heavy, very dark and eerie, and it's just great. The songs have got some really epic melodies that you think, oh, it's like, surprised he doesn't use them in Draconian. When you listen to this, you think, oh, you could have used that riff, you could have used that riff, because they're all quality. But it's just a really good, miserable time, and I love miserable music. So yeah, Doom Us. And number 1, and I thank you for your patience getting through this video, because I imagine it's quite long, 36 minutes. My Dying Bride. No surprise to anyone that this band is in this list. And for me, when it comes to My Dying Bride's discography, you could say Turn Loose the Swans, you could say As the Flowers Wither if you want to go really old school. But for me, what sums them up from then and now, and it kind of matches it all perfectly, is Sons of Darkness, Words of Light. This album has everything. It's horrible, dark, but it's got loads of quality riffs. Like Catherine Blake, I absolutely adore that song. I think for me, that's probably one of my favourite My Dying Bride songs, just because of the riff and how it sings and that harmony with the vocals. It's gorgeous. It really, really sings. Scarlet Garden, the Blue Lotus, I really like that. I mean, I like all of them, but this to me is what My Dying Bride should sound like as an album. You know, it captures everything, the darkness, the light. It's just gorgeous, and I love it. And it's horrible in an eerie, evil way, and it has a lot of charm to it. So yeah, My Dying Bride is number 1. So thank you if you've got to the end of this video or not paused it or whatever. I really do appreciate it. I wanted to do this list because I like talking about my favourite bands and stuff like that. I always talk about new music, I always feel like, so it's really cool to do something a little bit different. So please like the video if you did get through to the end, and I appreciate all your support. Leave a comment below what you think. If you've got a top 30 list you want to share, obviously go ahead. I'd love to see that. It might be something new for me to check out. Till then, take care and cheers.